A brand new bathroom for under $1,000? Adam's next project starts with an old bucket and some sand.
I can create something pretty spectacular.
Got a fence that's an eyesore? Graham has a way to fix this problem.
And brighten this little courtyard up for spring.
Time travel. It's eluded the best minds for generations, but I think I might have finally cracked it. What if I told you I could transport you 40 years just with a few coats of paint? This bathroom, well, it doesn't look as though it's seen a whole lot of love since it was first built back in the 80s. It's sound, it's waterproof, it's certainly clean enough. It doesn't need a complete reno. What I do think it needs though is a fresh, bright new look, and we can achieve that for under $1,000 with a few coats of paint. When you're painting a bathroom, preparation is absolutely key for a job that lasts. Most bathroom ceilings tend to have mold. Luckily, this one is clean and dry, but it does have loose and flaky paint. The other really important thing to remember is to choose the right paint for the situation. So I'm using a kitchen and bathroom paint. This one has a mold inhibitor. It also has a special barrier protection which allows it to be wiped down easily. Now I want to tell you about the paint that I'm using for this vanity unit. It's a brand new product from Dulux. It's very exciting. It's part of their Reno range. It's called a tile and benchtop paint. And this paint can be tinted to thousands of different shades. Now before you use this product, do follow the instructions and make sure you thoroughly clean the area. So you use sugar soap and mold killer. Then sandpaper the area to key the surface. There is just one final step with the preparation, and that is to use steel wool. What it's doing is putting tiny little scratches into that laminate surface and then wiping over with a dry cloth. You're going to give it the best possible chance. Now you need to know that this is actually a two-part process. You choose the paint colour of your choice, and then after the paint's done, you actually go over with a clear top coat. You'll notice there's a little tube inside. This is actually a catalyst. I've chosen Lexicon quarter strength to tie in with the walls. Squeeze it all out. Once you've put the catalyst in, you have 10 days working time. So basically you can do one coat this weekend and you can finish it off next weekend if you choose. This is a water-based paint. It's durable and you don't even need any primer for most surfaces. I've gone with a small microfiber roller to apply this product. It gives you more control and is really good for smaller spaces like cupboards and bench tops. The top looks fresh and crisp in the Lexicon quarter, but to contrast, what I'm doing is the doors in Diplomatic. It's a lovely deep shade and it picks up the blue in the floor tiles, which I'm keeping. Okay, so now we're on to the tiles. The prep for these is pretty much the same as the bench top, but I do strongly recommend treating for mold. Grout is super porous and attracts mold. Then once the grout and tiles are completely dry, use the same paint as the bench top. Really pleased with how the bench top and the doors have come up. What I've done is applied 2 coats of colour to each, allowing 8 hours to dry between each coat. Now this is the final step. It's just a clear coat and a satin finish. To reuse the old mirror without having to replace it, I'm building a very simple frame. Then make sure that you use glue and small nails to pin it all together. A dash of colour will always make a frame look more interesting, so I'm starting with the same shade of blue that I used for the cabinet doors. But I want to go one step further and give it some bling, and for that I'm using gold leaf. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue on, one section at a time, and then when it's dry, go over the top with the second coat, and when it's just sticky, then you can apply the gold leaf. Now this is a metal, it will tarnish, so you will need to seal your frame off with something. You could use varnish, but I'm going for slightly tinted brown wax just to age down that gold and make it not so bright. When you doing up an old bathroom, one area I definitely recommend you spend a bit of money on is the tapware. Now, my inspiration for the brass came from the old shower screen. So by tying everything together, it gives us a more deliberate look. Timber is such a great way to introduce warmth and texture to any bathroom and stop it looking clinical. If you know that unused space above the bath, you could put a couple of picture frames there, or you could do a whole shelving unit instead. This one is very simple. It's just a backing panel of this utility timber, and I've cut down some shelves to size. These simply get glued and screwed on. If you love a soak in the tub, a rack across the bath is such a good idea. It's a real little luxury. This one though has a very special little feature. It has a hinged book rack. So when it's time to sit in the bubbles, you can just pop it open and read away. That's the hard work done, so now we can get this hung on the wall and add all of the other finishing touches that will give this bathroom character and bring the whole thing together. Looks like a brand new mirror. Very fancy. Doesn't this look amazing? I promised you a bathroom makeover for under $1,000. All up, the building and paint materials in this bathroom came to $850. For me, the standout is of course the tile and the benchtop transformation. All in all, tick tick, job well done.
If you look around your workshop or your home, there's those everyday items that at first glance might look boring, but when you add them together, they can create something pretty spectacular. Like the good old bucket. That looks boring. Or a bag of sand. You can't get any more boring than that. But if I add those two things with some concrete and some timber, I can create something pretty spectacular. The first thing I'm going to do is cut this bucket in half. And by me cutting this in half and retaping it and forming basically a concrete pot, by the time my concrete's set, this is going to make it a lot easier to take the cast off. What do you do when you cut a bucket in half? Just use some tape to stick it back together. This is actually the formwork which is going to hold our concrete in place until it sets. And that is going to be making the base for a very funky side table. Now, I'm just going to mix up the concrete. And when it comes to the mix, I've made it nice and wet. That way, when I pour it in, it makes it nice and easy to work with. And to form up our shape, I'm just putting a second bucket inside, and I'm going to use sand to weigh it down to hold it in place. With about 25 mil all around the edge, which we need to pour the rest of the concrete in there. I'm just going to use these timber wedges to evenly space it all the way around. You just want to make sure that you hit the bucket all the way around. That way you get rid of any air bubbles, and when you take the formwork out, you're left with a nice smooth surface. In the real world, you'd leave this to sit for about a week, but this is TV, so I click my fingers and we've got a nice dry bucket. Now, the next thing I need to do is crush the bucket in the centre, and then I'll take the outside bucket out, and fingers crossed, I'm left with a nice looking base. So far, so good. It's like it's my birthday and I'm unwrapping a present. Is it going to work? There's only one way to see. Ha-ha! And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the base for my side table. Now this has had time to fully set. You can see that it dries to a lighter colour. Now it's time for the top. I'm using some timber, and I think this pine slab right here will be perfect. Now to stick with the round theme, I'm going to be using a router to shape my top into a circle. The other tip is to make sure that your top is fixed down, so I've just got a couple of screws in it. That way, it doesn't go flying off on you. I'm just going from corner to corner to find the centre. Because our top is going to be round, I'll drill a hole, which will allow the point of my router guide to sit there, and I'll be able to take it around. And you'll notice when I went around, I did multiple passes, so I was just lowering the depth each time. It makes it easier to cut, and then you end up with a nice circle, like so. So I've just changed bits over in my router, and now what I'm going to do is create a 45-degree angle around the board. So I've shaped the top, I've sanded it, and now I'm ready to seal it. And for that, I'm just using some Danish oil. And then we'll be ready to attach the top to the base. Now it's time to join the two together. Oh, I am very happy with the way this has worked out. So with a boring bucket, some boring sand, some concrete and timber, we have created this spectacular side table.
Looks okay. No one, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy. Thank you.
It can't be an egg!
It's like an egg, it's like a beanbag. Isn't it? Glenys, what have you done? And there's something going wrong with your chickens, Glenys.
There is.
Is there just the one bird that's doing this, or a number of birds that's doing this?
Just the one.
This is one big egg. Is that from the same bird, do you think, or from another bird?
No, definitely the same one.
So we have one bird, which is producing peculiar eggs.
Well, our chickens are very spoiled. We give them porridge for breakfast, blueberries, mealworms, and my granddaughter just loves playing with them.
They're good fun, aren't they?
They are the best.
And they're great pets.
Yes.
Everybody likes chickens. I want to look at what's going on inside this egg, okay? And break it out on the plate. We can look at the anatomy of the egg. So you've got the yolk in the middle. Around that forms the thick white. Then you get the thin white, pour it around the outside of that. And finally, you get to the thin membrane inside here, right? And finally, the shell. Now, what's going wrong? Well, if we look inside that egg, we can see what anatomic details are there, and we'll know what's missing. I'm trying to be as delicate as I can and not spoil anything without cutting my fingers, of course. I'm just going to put on a magnifying loupe, right, so I can have a really close look at this. Where have you gone? Oh, hang on a minute. Ah, there you are. OK, now back to this egg. So you've got some blood spotting there. So that's in the thick white. Very thick, probably because it's dried out. So this is the other abnormality?
Yes.
Same bird you suspect?
Yes.
Same bird? OK. Now, to me, this looks like a double yolker. 2 yolks in the one egg. My hat. Look at the blood spots, look. OK? Not normal. You occasionally see blood spots on the yolk, but lots of things going wrong with this bird.
I'm having this soft shell as a result of a calcium deficiency. And I've got a very tasty way to help solve this problem.
So my tools of trade, a hammer, a couple of spoons, and guess what? A dozen beautiful natural oysters and a lemon to go with them. Now, if you think we're doing this for the chickens, you're halfway right. We need to keep our strength up to catch them. And they're fresh. This is a fantastic source of calcium, and we're going to make some ourselves. So oyster shell grit is the best grit you can use. Fold them up. That's why the hammer. Pick it up and have a look at what's inside. So this is a little bit salty. The birds like that anyhow.
Yes.
Okay, so I just take a little sprinkle. Let's get a little bit here in a spoon. All right, let's go and see if the ladies like it, eh? Come on, let's go and have a look. Well, they don't mind it.
No, they love it.
Okay, Now, some people suggest that you dry out eggshells and feed that to them. Not a good idea. It teaches them to eat their own eggs. Bad idea. So just try and crush it up as fine as you can. The grit sits in the gizzard where all this grinding takes place. And that's what breaks down whole seeds into flour that they can digest. Now, that's not the only trick up my sleeve. So, this is another very good source of calcium because this is the skeleton of the cuttlefish. So little bits like that are quite good because you can just crumble them up. And they'll come and eat those. Good source of calcium for them. They'll get a taste for it and you'll find they really like it.
Oh, good.
I think the problem that you have here with this particular bird calls for full-on treatment. So this is a liquid calcium supplement with vitamin D. Now, vitamin D helps birds and us to absorb calcium. I want us to use oysters, I want you to use cuttlefish, and I want you to use this in the drinking water. So we're putting a lot of calcium into these two birds. So let's go and catch the one that you think's the culprit. Is she easy to catch?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. I gotcha! All right, which one have I got?
You've got Henny.
And that's the one we need?
Yes.
OK, let's have a bit of a look. First of all, the front end. Lovely red comb, lovely red wattles. Very healthy looking bird, nice clean. Oh, feel that. Almost like a tennis ball. That's the crop.
Wow.
Full of food.
Yep.
So that stores food and it gradually percolates through the whole of the intestinal tract. So what I'm trying to do is to see is there any lump or unusual protrusion I can find in the oviduct, because the oviduct is quite big when they're laying and there's nothing abnormal in the abdomen.
Good.
Yeah, nothing. If she responds to the calcium, then that's simply the answer, a calcium deficiency. But if she doesn't respond and you still get those little blood flecks, the odds are you've got some damage to the oviduct itself. Is it fixable? Some of them fix themselves with time, but a lot of them are due to a virus infection. But at the moment, she in herself is good, so no worries. Away you go.
Thank
Ta-da.
you.
You know, we're all guilty of buying things on impulse. Looks fantastic in the catalogue, then it gets delivered. Oh, installation, way too challenging. Now, just like the owners of this apartment here, they wanted to hide the fence, so they thought they'd put on a little lick of paint, but no, the strata plan says no painting. So what do? They order online one of these. It's a vertical garden, but they didn't count on the weight of the soil in these pockets. All way too hard, so it ends up back in the garden shed. So I'm here to solve that little problem and bring in some colour and brighten this little courtyard up for spring. Now, there's another job that I want to sort out. This soil, oh, look at that. It is so heavy. I suspect it's way too wet because look at these. These little plants here have just died. They've all rotted off. So I'm going to get the fellas in. Chaps, can you get half of this soil out? We'll replace it, put in some nice fresh soil, and I'll go off and do some shopping for some inspiration. The courtyard we're working in is really quite modern, so I thought we'd increase the spring vibe by introducing colour in the landscaping as well as in the plants. Now, I love these raised garden beds. They're fantastic for growing veggies in particular. You can actually order them in a whole range of different sizes and colours. So I'm going to pick up a few of these and paint them in colours that complement our existing scheme. Then I'll attach a frame up to the height of the fence to grow some climbers over. I'll make 3 of these, plus sort out a way to support those vertical garden bags. Now, it's not often I go shopping for gardening in the plumbing aisle. Pipes, plus all these little angled bits and pieces and joiners, will enable me to make a really great climbing frame for my climbing plant. No, stick with me. Then I'm going to paint it the same colour as the pot. You'll love it. Paint, plants, soil. Now I need to get back to work. Okay, now, this is the fun part, where you put it all together. Now, putting these things together, if you're over 50, it's like a Meccano set. If you're between 5 and 50, it's like a Lego set. I'm going to have to undercoat it first and then put on my surprise paint. Remember remember those pieces of pipes that I got in the plumbing aisles? And this is how we make our little stand. This is more fun than when I made a billy cart when I was about 8 years of age. They go on the end, screw all those in, and because I'm painting this as well later, it needs an undercoat.
What do we want? We want it all, 'cause we're young and we're living for fun.
Now for my surprise colour, it is gloss bright orange. Okay, don't forget the climbing plant frame now. Right, we'll let one dry. See how this one, yep, this one is dry. These don't have a base because they normally sit directly on the ground, but I want to move this one around to take advantage of the moving sun during the year. So Greg's just made me up a base with some wheels, which is really handy. Thanks, mate, that's perfect. A little bit of a tip. You'll notice inside here, you've got the screws which stick out. So Greg has actually taken a little chamfer through there on all four sides, so that those screws will just slide straight onto the whole device, like so. And this is what we're going to put our climbing plant on. Now, that's another reason why it's handy to have a timber base with wheels, because we can actually secure the frame to it. Thanks, mate. Okay. Now, the next little job is to hang the wire. Looks a bit average at first, but once the plants grow, you won't see a thing. So we've got some geofabric. That'll stop the soil from spilling through. And then we're going to fill it up with a soil mix. Now, what we're planting in here is a star jasmine. There we go. Beautiful. Great. Now we'll use this soil. Turn it around a little bit so it's up against the wire. We can actually remove these little critters. I'll reuse these little clips to secure our star jasmine onto our frame.
No fear of dying.
There we go. And then we can just use those little clips again to put it onto the wire. Okay, that's the star jasmine secured. These beautiful little kalanchoes will be perfect just at the front here. These are the new hybrids that you'll see in your local garden centres. And they're about 6 different colours, and they flower for months and months. I just love these planters. A great splash of colour, but they are looking just a tad lonely. Well, basically, don't make things more complicated than they already are. So I'm just going to hang the vertical gardens up with some really strong rope. Looks great because it's nice and chunky, but to stop it fraying at the ends, I'm just going to use some white tape. Seal that off. Now, take it down about 30 centimetres, fold it over, and then just do a little knot, but leaving a little loop on the top. Now we just thread it through the eyelet, like so, and put the rope loops over the metal hooks. That'll take all the weight of the soil in the plants and look great. I'm going to put some of this perlite, about a third in each of the pockets. Look, it's really light. It improves drainage for all the plants that we're putting in. Okay, let's pop in our plants. There are lots of different Ripsalis around at the moment. They're great in hanging baskets, but in vertical gardens, they're just perfect because they like the drier conditions. Now, these little fellows here, we'll just put them into there. One in the middle, something tall and elegant, I think. And then we'll just backfill. Now, the other plants we've added are some anthuriums here, only a small variety, not the really big one, and some ivies. Now, you can get really small pin ivies, like this little fellow here. Isn't that cute? Watering. Most of these get too much water, and that's why they rot, they don't last. Get your finger in there, and if it's cold, it's wet and don't water it. So in summer, you might be watering at the most once a day. In winter, once a week. But I'm not finished yet. That lower garden bed with the boggy soil that I showed you earlier has been beautifully replenished. Now, I'm using a potting mix for tubs and troughs because this is basically one large trough. And we're going to plant it up. Now, the owner of the apartment has had these sitting around, obviously, to do this little job, so we're going to do it for him and plant these out right along the way. This is evergreen giant mondo grass, and it's a nice, tall, leggy one. That's about as high as it gets. And some more of those bright orange kalanchoes would really tie our colour scheme together. Now, these little silver fellows are cotyledons, lovely succulent. Just brilliant, I love it. And then finally, I'm putting in a little variegated Tradescantia. For a final spring clean, we'll give these tiles a real once-over. OK, the next stage in really brightening up our courtyard for spring is garden lighting. You can't have a courtyard and party time without lights. LED globes are fantastic because the variations you can get, it's a lot of fun. You can even connect them, believe it or not, to your phone with an app. They're fairly heavy, so I think to secure them, we're going to use these cable ties to this cable wire, which will secure on either side of the courtyard. Right, OK, all the globes are now on the wire, but so that we can just secure it really simply to the building, we're just going to put this carabiner on the cable there. My mate Sparky's going up the ladder, and then you can just hook that on the top there, mate. Well, those lights look fantastic, but while I was shopping earlier at Bunnings, I had a look at their new season's outdoor furniture. I have to say, the new styles are a bit of a blur between the indoors and outdoors. Have a look and see what we chose. Beautiful. Thank you, team. Excellent. No entertaining courtyard like this would be complete without a fantastic barbecue.
Moonlight and sunshine, look dark next to you and I, so let's show the world our love.
This makeover has been a real team effort, so the least I can do is feed the troops. You know, apartment living can be a bit of a challenge, but it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy a beautiful garden. Select some great plants, be creative, or maybe go vertical, and you'll have extended, fantastic living space come spring. OK, grub's ready. Come on, guys, out you come. Who would have thought? The gardener at the barbecue. Eat your heart out, Ed. There you go.
Thank you, Graham.
Yes, my pleasure, mate.